Okay. Woohoo.
Good evening. Welcome to the Trails Committee on February 13th. I am calling the meeting to order at 7:35 p.m. We'll do a roll call vote. Will Warren.
Here.
Satyendra Sharma.
Here.
Kat McKee here. Noting for the minutes, Isabella Bogdansky is not here and she will not be joining us today. Tom McCoolier will be joining us later. So one thing about the later, Will, I think you had mentioned that you might have to leave a little early because there's a conflicting meeting.
Yeah, I'm actually sort of half listening into it right now, but it's the St. Mark's Street Park Working Group.
Okay.
And it started off with a real bang. Somebody spoke and was hurling accusations at other people. And, oh my goodness, it was quite interesting.
Is it being recorded?
It's being recorded, yes. So it's fine.
Oh, good. Okay, so I'll take a listen. Thank you. So the thing I was asking is because we do need to keep quorum. So I don't know if you can stage your exit.
No, I can stay. I mean,
Okay.
I'm not, you know,
Okay.
I'm kind of listening in, but it's the only thing that's really going to happen is that Bonnie and Bill Sines are there,
Yeah.
along with Marguerite Landry. So they have a quorum. So it's not necessary for me to really be there or to even vote. But they're going, I mean,
on SPAC?
yeah, the SPAC group this is like a joint meeting. And
I didn't know
Bonnie and Bill
Marguerite-
are going to make some comments about accessibility and such.
Okay, I didn't know Marguerite was on the committee.
Okay. Actually, well, when we get into this, I do have some comments that were made by Bonnie at the last SPAC meeting that I wanted to relay.
Okay, so let's do our order of business, which is our next is to approve the minutes. Would you like me to pull them up, or did you have a moment before the meeting to take a look at the meeting minutes that I shared?
They look fine.
Okay, Sati, did you
Yeah.
drafted them? Just made a minor change.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
I mean, what you will make a change that will be like good. So
Yeah, it was really just taking away the next date of the coming meeting was January 31st, which
okay.
minutes were for. Yeah, and just clarified that the town uses funds to pay the vendor and then is reimbursed by the grant funds. So that the way it was written, it looked like the Trails Committee was getting reimbursed and we technically aren't.
Down
But so I clarified that. Everything else looked wonderful. Thank you for drafting those. Okay, so if there are no additional comments on the minutes, does someone want to make a motion to approve the minutes from January 31st?
I move to approve the minutes.
I
Okay,
second it.
thank you. And let's do roll call. Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Will Warren,
Yes.
and Kat McKee. Great. Okay, so minutes approved. Thank you very much for 131. Next up is the Rotary Club Day of Service Trail Trash Pickup Opportunity. So I had revised the agenda item, the agenda, so we could talk about this.
Right. So the Rotary Club on May 20th is going to have like a day of service. Now, a suggestion was made by the current president of the Rotary Club that we might do a trash pickup along Southborough trails. But as Kat pointed out, the trails don't really have a lot of trash along them.
Super clean.
Yeah, the streets of Southborough, however, do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, apparently a lot of people drink nips in this town.
And it's the same people in the same spot.
How do they drink that much nips? I mean,
every day after work or every day before. I don't know. I don't want to pretend.
Let's hope that they're not doing it on the way in. But they do it on the way home so they can hit a Southborough kid or what? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, if there's not enough trash to pick up, and if we cannot think of another.
Well, let me ask a couple questions,
yeah.
Because it was a little confusing the way it was presented for me. You probably presented it clearly, but I was confused or in vacation mode. So,
okay.
So Rotary typically partners with DPW on Earth Day.
We do, yes.
And they do this big trash cleanup in town.
April 22nd, yes.
Right. And so in the past, a couple years in running, Trails Committee participated in that, right?
Okay.
Not every year, it was just a couple years. And then then we opted out last year. Last year, we had a lot of volunteers that came forth and wanted to do trail work. So we opted to do that because, again, DPW had approached us, or Rotary had approached us, I forget who, a couple years back and said, hey, for those families with children who didn't want to be on the road, would you have any trail pickup trash along the trails? So we tried to accommodate. But what it turned out to be is the trails are fairly clean. On occasion, you'll find something along the trails, but you're never going to find trash bags full of trail trash on the trail. But you will at the trailheads. Some of the trailheads are bad. So there is that, we could do a trailhead pickup. And then the other thing that's really bad, but takes a little more skill and equipment are the waterways, like around, like where the water has corners, like at Route 85 or at Route Central Street and Route 30. It's where the, all the trash gets kind of pushed up.
Yeah.
And it lines the water, it lines the bank.
Yeah,
next to the causeways and such.
yeah.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah, that's usually pretty bad.
oh yeah.
Not trail, but and some of it you can't get because unless you're really tall and you have a long extender, which we do have extenders, but even that, Lisa and I tried to tackle it once and it was just tricky.
It's tricky, and you have to get yourself dirty to
Or
get
wet.
into the-
I mean, I
yeah.
guess we could volunteer to walk in the reservoir and get the trash out.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's
Not what you had in mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what we really had in mind. And how many corners are there that would need picking up? I mean, there are quite a
if you
few
think
causeways.
Route 85 it would be on each side.
Yeah, there's Route 85. There's the causeway that that goes
Causeway near the
Breakneck
gate.
Hill, right? That go, when Breakneck Hill joins Route 9 there.
Oh, and at that's White Bagley, right?
I guess.
White Bagley, yeah. White Bagley.
And then there's another causeway that goes past the Fay School, right?
Is that middle road?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Middle Road. And then there's the Route 30 causeway. So, there's like 4.
Yeah.
If we
it would take people who aren't afraid to get wet.
well, how long
Yeah,
of a reach do you need? I mean, would a rake help?
Yes.
It might, yeah, but not.
No,
I mean,
we'd have to go do a quick survey too to see
yeah.
what it would look like. We
Well,
could
why
create
don't- why don't-
chain and everybody hold on to everybody and lean in.
even the cemetery side, the water on the other side.
Yeah,
Along the
the
road,
causeway or just along the shore.
The
along the-
cemetery, is that on Middle Road?
not on the middle road when you come
Oh,
towards
Route 80.
yeah, so there is this
That U-turn.
guardrails, yeah.
Yeah.
There we picked up like last year tons of trash,
Oh, you mean right off the
hubcaps,
road?
yeah.
You mean right at the, yeah, see, that's where the
Hubcaps and-
trailheads could use some trash cleanup.
Well, that
think
that might
it
not
would
be that might be enough trash pickup to justify.
Well, it justifies an Earth Day, like.
Well, but
I'm not
when
sure
you
there's
start
what's
talking about
the benefit of doing it outside of Earth Day, if
but
it's the same
when you start talking
organization.
about having special equipment, maybe that's something that could be done.
I just mean the reachers. You know what I mean? The
will-
trash reachers, those.
Well, a
trash
rake or
pickuppers.
something. Yeah.
We have 5 of them that we donated. to
Yeah.
the thing
Yeah, I'm
is,
not-
May is pretty late Earth Day is sometime in April, right? 23rd or 24th?
It's April 22nd this year. I believe.
22nd, right? Yeah, okay. And
So,
May 20th is about a month.
well,
Not much trash will get accumulated by then.
Yeah.
Oh, if we, right.
so what I'm going to say is this is not a good idea. This,
It's a
I'm going to
great
tell
idea. It's a great idea.
Yeah,
In
great
the
idea.
sense that, Earth Day usually accomplishes it, but
yes.
Is there
But it's,
another opportunity? So Rotary, we'd love to do something with Rotary. We don't want to say no, but a day of service,
well, the May 20th date is is a international day of service for Rotary. And so I'm gonna tell Rotary, let's look elsewhere for what we want to do on that day.
well, I mean,
Right.
is there some other service that can happen?
Food
Well,
pantry.
Associated with trails, it doesn't sound like it, because Earth Day is going to pick up the trash, ahead of time. And we just don't have enough people drinking and walking. But I mean, what we might, well, as far as this day of service, I think I'm going to recommend to Rotary that we do something else instead, that we look around and do something else. Our heart is not set on this. We were, the whole thing, it was a suggestion made by the president of the Southborough Rotary Club.
And who
And I
is that?
said I would talk to the Trails Committee, which I'm doing, but I'm going to go back and say, just from a standpoint on this Wednesday when we have our meeting, I'm going to say from the standpoint of practicality, it probably is not going to be a good fit, right? So,
We just don't have enough dirty trails to, I think, make it worth your while
right,
in
exactly.
what you're trying to accomplish. But please express our gratitude that we came up, and let's look for other ways to do things together, because
Yeah,
we
okay,
need to
okay.
work with
Exactly.
Rotary and support Rotary's
Yeah.
efforts
All right.
and stuff.
Now-
And we, again, we'll probably support on Earth Day their efforts, right?
Okay.
So, yeah.
Could I relay the comments of the SPAC made at the SPAC meeting?
Yeah, so is this related to the
Getting some money
$1,000?
out of SPAC.
Yeah, yep. So,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, so so we're good. So you're gonna positively share that the Trails Committee would love to do something with Rotary, but that didn't work out.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Okay.
And then, so now let's move to the topic of number 7, Mass Trails Grant. So that's where this will fit in.
Right.
Okay.
So the the SPAC is is interested in helping to make the trails more accessible
Mhm.
and helping with the signage.
Okay.
Bonnie Faniff was extremely insistent, though, that she wants us to be sure that we have the appropriate sign off from MWRA and the DCR. Because her experience has been that they require written agreements and that everything has to be specified in advance, including where all of the signage is going to be posted along the entire trail.
Sure. Why not?
So, I mean, I assured her that, that was being taken care of, but she would like to see the agreements, I guess.
Okay, no problem. We have, so there's 2 things. One is we just spoke with DCR in a meeting, the director of the watershed and the regional director.
Right.
And they were excited about the signage. They're like, oh, we love that signage.
Okay.
And we would talk to them, of course, about where to put it, because it has to agree with all of their things.
Right.
As far as the agreement goes for DCR, we're waiting on our MOA or MOU. We're in the discussions, so we're still
Okay.
negotiating that. So we're not going to be able to send that to them, but we have agreement from DCR that we can move forward. So we're in close communications with DCR. So
Okay.
Bonnie can rest assured that everything's being taken care of, and we're above board on all of this. Like, we do not move forward without all communication, and that we have a clear path forward.
Right.
We don't pretend, and we never assume that we don't pretend to think that things are going to go well. We always confirm.
Right.
MWA, we have an 8M permit to work on this property. So, and we're looking to schedule a kickoff meeting. So, I'm happy to, would it be helpful if I wrote her an email kind of detailing?
Yeah,
this information?
I think that would be very good. Now, okay, so there were a couple other things. One was that we were looking at a picture of the gate that they're going to, have a new gate at the
Hang on one
Route
second.
30 end of the. of the trail.
Hold on, before you move forward, I just want to double check. How did you represent things when you're asked these questions at SPAC? Do you say, "Oh, I don't know. They don't really know. I don't know if they
No,
have
no. I
anything."
told
Do
them
you-
that we're in
Do you
close.
introduce doubt or do you introduce confidence?
I try to introduce confidence, but
And it's okay if you don't know. That's
no.
totally
I
fine.
try and introduce confidence, but my confidence is doubted. You know,
Okay.
uh,
I hear you. It may be that people have had different experiences with DCR.
yes.
I think, and that could be why. And they're also looking out for the benefit of trails so that we're not going off trying to do things that aren't approved. And we'll say the best interest, have our best interest at heart so that we don't, do something that's not going to work out.
Yeah, I think, Bonnie Bonnie was tough on me in terms of sort of pressing and reiterating, you got to have all this precisely spelled out with DCR.
I understand.
So, and I think that an email from you
Yeah.
saying, here's the type of documentation that we are pushing for.
Mhm,
Here's the type of coordination that we've had with DCR and NWRA,
mhm.
right?
Okay.
And here's, here's where we are going to get to before we, disturb any ground or do anything.
Yep.
I think would be very helpful.
So,
now,
and this is related to ADA. I mean, I just want to understand she's just scope creeped a little bit, but I want to understand is the signage. I totally get like wanting to make sure the ADA signage is in place. Is this more of a like, hey, just be careful? Because I just want to make sure
it's more of a just be careful kind of thing.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll reach out to just Bonnie, or should it be?
Well, you should send it to the whole SPAC. Send
Okay.
it to
So I'll
Marguerite
say,
and
I was, is Marguerite, is this her first year on SPAC?
yes.
Okay. I'll let them know that,
Bill signs, Bonnie, Marguerite Landry.
yeah, it's on the
Okay.
web. I'll be able to pull the emails and
Right.
that you had relayed the discussion that took place. Thought it would be helpful if I sent some information about how we're going about things. And
Right. Now,
yeah.
Bill Signs had a he was concerned. He has not really seen the trail, and he was concerned that there would be enough room for wheelchairs to turn around at the head of the accessible portion of the trail. And I assured him, yes, it's a vehicle.
One's going to be a van spot and one's a car spot.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about on the trail itself. And I said, look, it's a
a
paved road that vehicles go
like
over
10
all
to
the time.
12 feet wide.
Yes, so that's
Yeah,
fine.
so any concern should be, let me get out there and walk it, and then I'll have concerns, because I completely understand everyone wanting, curious about things, but the best way to satisfy curiosity is to visit. And we'd be happy to escort SPAC if we thought a nice visit, a coordinated trail walk would make sense. Hey, that might be a really good idea, and maybe
that would be a good thing to offer, Bonnie.
Let me
That
offer
would be
that
good.
because we can tell them, this is what we're thinking and where we're putting some signage and what we're talking about, and then maybe they could share some of their additional thoughts and feel really
And one thing you're definitely going to want to point out to them is that there will be a way for wheelchairs to get around that gate, right?
Mhm.
The new gate.
Yeah.
And
So I interrupted you about the newish gate. It may not be new gate. I've got info on that.
But we have to make certain that you can get a wheelchair around the gate without having to open the gate.
Yep.
Right. Okay. And then there's the the issue of signage of the placement of the signage off the trail on a
we
pad.
approach this from a really positive perspective, because what I'm feeling is this, like, we are concerned, we have issues. This is a beautiful trail building opportunity, and we are doing it the right way.
I understand. We
all these wonderful opportunities to bring accessibility to it, and there aren't any big issues right now.
I understand. And that's yes, and that was the attitude that I tried to convey. But Bonnie was in a particular stern mood.
Okay.
But there was the issues that Tim Litt brought up, issues about making it, adding Braille. And, that certainly would be possible. I guess, I think that this gets into a situation, though, that, he was talking about totally blind people going on the trail unescorted, which is fine, except that your signage has to be off the trail. And I don't know how a totally blind person would actually get to the signage or even know that it was there.
So, before we commit to Braille, we've not budgeted Braille. Braille
I understand.
is double the size, and I want to be as inclusive as possible. But are there other solutions to Braille? If the visually impaired, can they? Now, the only trouble is if they're visually and audio impaired, that might not work. But could we do an audio solution via a QR code for those visually impaired versus doing Braille?
As long as you're making the assumption that they'll be escorted by a sighted person, yes.
Well, I
Right.
mean, I don't know exactly how to approach this conversation, but how did the person get there?
I understand, but
I'm really wanting to understand.
I understand, but this was
because
an issue.
I don't know what I don't know, and maybe I'm missing something. And
This was an issue brought up by Tim Litt, and I think it bordered on, the best is enemy of the good enough, right?
Yeah, I mean, right. And I think
now, if you remember the session that we attended, right?
yes,
Where there was someone had made a presentation about a trail that they had done, right? That was fully accessible for everybody, and it included a guide wire. Remember that?
Yes.
Very nice. That was unbelievably fantastic. That's not where we're going.
I don't think we can on first phase. It can't be phase one, and we need to talk to DCR and MWA about phase two on that, because it's a wonderful idea, but there's some practicalities that this is an access road used for infrastructure maintenance.
Right, exactly.
That may prevent us from being as inclusive as we like.
Right. So I guess, I think the issue really here, and this is for Bonnie and Tim, and
is it the opportunity or is it an issue?
It's basically, we're trying to make it more accessible, but we're certainly not getting to fully accessible for all manners.
In
right?
phase one. Right.
Phase one.
And so I think the way to approach this is we want to go as far as we can.
Right.
Phase one is to qualify as an inclusive, as an accessible trail, right? We have an ADA consultant that we'll refer, we can talk to about ways that we can set the project up for success. And if we can go further, making sure we're doing the things now, investing in the things that were the signage and whatnot that will help us do a phase 2 or 3 as we can, right?
Yeah.
But maybe some things we can't accomplish.
I understand what you're saying, but what I would just caution you about is that, some people, not to be named, but some people would say, "What phase 2 and 3 will never come," right? And so they're going to be insistent upon this is not good enough.
Took over 10 years.
I understand.
And the other thing is we have an objective and a timeline with the funding sources we have now.
Yes, I understand.
We don't have additional funding sources. So if said individual groups would like to fund that out of their budgets and provide that funding within our timeline, feel free. We're open to those new funds coming our way. Otherwise, we have a set project. And we've been in the works on this project for years, and anyone could have come forward and suggested ways to improve the project as we were scoping it out, and certainly open to changes as they are realistic for the current funding and project scope.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood.
For sure.
But I would just caution you that anybody who does something positive will be attacked by piranhas, right? And, you know, I just hope we don't end up in that situation.
Well, I hope that, you know, people who have good feedback will share it.
Understood.
And
Understood.
I hope if it's stern, strong feedback, that they share it in a professional way that doesn't make it feel like a piranha.
Right.
Because, I mean, we are here to do good for the community.
No,
We're
I
not here
understand.
to argue or to, you know, have issues or problems. We're here to accomplish and share what we're building with everybody and to make it the best through collaboration.
How about,
I
how
agree with
about-
you 100%, but
Yeah.
you know,
With-
all I'd say is that there are other projects that are happening now or have happened where, you know, they can sort of go out of control. And I don't think that's going to happen with trying to get some money out of SPAC, but I'm just saying that I can certainly see that there are possibilities of it, right?
When's the next SPAC meeting?
I don't have a date for you. I will get
Maybe I
it.
should come.
You probably should.
Okay.
Okay, if you can make it, you probably
Yeah.
should. It would
It's
be on
in
a
person,
Tuesday.
right?
Pardon? It's an in-person meeting, yes.
Okay.
But
Can you get me that date? Have you met yet with them about the additional funding? Is that what you're coming from the most recent meeting?
from the most recent meeting, the
Yeah.
January
So-
9th meeting, yes.
Oh, the 9th. Okay, so then, yeah, so yeah, I'll attend.
Oh,
the next
no, I'm sorry. It was the meeting after that. I'm not just, okay, yeah. But
Was it in February?
early February meeting. Last
Oh,
week,
so I
it was
did-
last Tuesday.
Oh, last
actually.
week. Okay, great.
Yep.
So you were able to, so your task was after our last meeting, you were going to represent trails and give them an example of the things that we could do with the $1,000. Did that, and after that conversation, this all came back as issues?
Well, as part of that conversation now, but let me just say, the idea of, you know, of improving signage for the accessible portions of the trail is fine. Everybody agrees with that.
Yeah.
All right. The question about, you know, then expanding it for additional people with additional or different disabilities besides, you know, moving.
Yeah.
That was an add-on from Tim Litt, and frankly, I'm not sure how we would accommodate that for a whole bunch of reasons.
We actually wrote it in one of our applications that we'd be looking to do that. Like sensory.
In the future, yes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, so
once
that's
again,
not
okay, that's fine, but it's not something that we're seeking funds from SPAC for, I don't think, because we don't have a good plan for it right now.
not right now, but so when we start to explore the signage in different ways, I mean, there may be an opportunity that comes up that doesn't require a ton of money, where
Right.
we could expand to something other than mobility impaired. It could be more the sensory issues and things
Right.
like that. Sure. And we
And-
wrote that into our Mass Trails grant.
And then the Bonnie comments about, you know, she was very insistent upon everything has got to be laid out in the, you know, whatever written agreements you have with DCR.
Oh, she doesn't know me, does she?
Okay.
Let's get
Uh,
introduced.
No. She wasn't.
No, this is a positive
Wasn't
thing. I mean,
dissing you.
no, she literally doesn't know who I am and how I work.
I know. I understand.
We have to
understand.
show her.
I
Okay.
understand.
Okay.
But that was more of a, she wants to make certain that we're going to conduct ourselves with these groups that she's found troublesome in the past, right?
And that's good wisdom share, right?
And I believe that she actually was involved in the 9/11 thing that Mark Purple had mentioned.
Yes, that has nothing to do with us, and we're not going to go down that
I
path.
understand,
That
but
was
she's
that is-
once burned, twice shy kind of person.
Oh, absolutely. And I understand that was a much bigger project. And so,
Okay.
we heard rumors of that when we got on the committee. Satya.
Okay. All right. So I think that the email that you proposed will go a long way, right,
Mm-hmm.
in doing this. I think that, from the standpoint of a phase, if we're going to start talking about a phase 2, then we should probably say, we should probably document some ideas. And we should say, here's what we would consider as a phase 2, but it's just not something that we can do at this particular time. Given the funding that we have, given the time frame
Right.
that we have.
I love that idea.
Right.
I love it so much that I want to get phase 1 fully scoped out first.
Right. I understand.
And then start on phase, right? So I think the reason I say that is because let's get through the sign. So we're almost through the bid.
Right.
Getting that draft out, then we've got the fencing, right? That's good. And then we're focusing on signage. Now, once we get the signage kind of under wraps and we understand what we're doing, then we're really going to know what we can do as far as with our funding that we have. How can we expand to include a little bit more accessibility?
Right.
And then we'll know what we can't, right? Once we have some of our budgeting items finalized.
Well, actually,
and
I think this comes from Bonnie's experience with DCR, is just that she felt that there may be difficulty putting any type of signage anywhere on DCR land.
Quote, I love those types of signs. We're looking at putting those up ourselves.
Okay, that's fantastic. That's great.
Our director of watershed.
Okay, very good. Well, then that'll allay her fears, I believe.
And I showed them an example of the sign.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I do appreciate the caution because we want to make sure everyone's on the same page. So that's, part of why we're doing this kickoff meeting, right? Which we're going to talk about in a few minutes.
Okay.
It's going to be an in-person site visit with DCR, MWA, Trails, Tim Davis, and DPW. We're all going to get together and look at the property, and we're going to see where we're going to move the fence.
And we should probably also invite SPAC.
I'm not going to coordinate with SPAC for this meeting. No, they can come at another time.
Okay.
That's too many bodies, too many meetings, too many groups.
Okay.
And the primary purpose of this meeting is to make sure DPW, who's doing the parking, understands that they can put the parking in where we're going to put the gate, right? So we're going to move the gate. Do we have enough room for parking? And that they and any fence are working together, and that DCR and MWA are all in the yes. So
is any fence, are they actually beginning, or what's their time frame look like?
no, we have to have the kickoff meeting first. So we've already set them up as a vendor. We submitted their W-9, we submitted their certificate of insurance.
Okay.
And I'm waiting on a requote from them on whether we're doing a new gate or existing. So they quoted an existing gate, right? And last meeting we discussed possibly doing a new gate, and I showed a picture, I think, of the new gate. And so we're waiting for a quote of what the new gate would cost. And we still don't quite have that number. But in the meantime, what I did was I reached out to MWA. I had the conversation with DCR and said, hey, would you be open to reusing this? We have a quote for reusing the gate. But if we have to go with a new gate, I asked them if they would be open to reusing the gate. And they said, if we had a new gate, it would be great, but we don't want to cause you to spend more money if it's out of your budget. And that's what we're trying to gauge, right? That came from DCR. And that was a really kind comment, right? They're like, well, yeah, we'd love a new gate, but if you can't afford it, we'll do with an old one if it's good enough, right?
Right. So this reminds me, when I mentioned that, that fencing was being done, I mean, Bonnie was instantly asked, do you have like a plan for that? Do you have, an exact, detail and everything about exactly where the fencing is going to go and all of that? Once again, I think this was more of a caution for us that DCR, looking over our shoulders, you want to make sure you have all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, right?
Again, I don't think Bonnie knows me well yet.
Understood.
I'll introduce myself.
Understood.
Yeah, so I understand. I appreciate that, but we are really walking the line. MWA did get back to us. They said they're okay reusing the gate
Having it moved and then reusing it. Right.
if it's
Okay.
So we could reuse it, or we can do a new one. If it's not too expensive, the new gate might be, a better option. We just need to make sure that the number of the different groups can put a lock on it, because everyone has, it looks like South
Okay.
Water, DCR, National Grid
Okay.
need locks and stuff. So so that's the deal with the gate. So we need to figure out, and I'm waiting for any fence to kind of give us that final quote, because that will be whether we can fund that or not, a new gate.
Okay. Then that concludes this portion of the meeting, I think.
No, just this discussion. I
Okay.
wish.
By the way, are you wearing a native Icelandic headdress right now?
No, it's not a headdress, it's just a headband.
Okay. All right. Yeah, you
But
never know.
it did help secure the hair during the 50-mile-an-hour winds for 7 straight days. Satis, for the record, Sam Stivers is in the audience.
Yeah, I wrote that.
You got
I
it.
saw it.
Oh.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, Sam. Okay, so so now we're still on this topic of Mass Trails kickoff meeting, and Tom should be joining us in a few minutes. So the kickoff meeting I need to have with, like I said, MWA, DCR, Recreation, which would be Tim, DPW, and us. And with so we have to propose a few dates and times for them to meet in person. And
Did the bid invitation to bid go out?
no, we're going to talk about that next. I was kind of hoping I could slow roll it until Tom gets here, so we can.
Okay. Okay. That's good. That's slow roll away.
But no, this is good topic, right? So we have to do a kickoff meeting. Not everyone on the trails will be able to make the meeting, and that's okay. But it is important that we do it as soon as possible so that any fence or fence vendor can get started, because that's the holdup right now. And the reason we're doing the meeting is because we want to make sure DPW, who's in charge of the parking, aligns with any fence and the relocation, and that DCR and MWA are okay with where we put the fence, and everyone's happy on the same page. There's no confusion, and everything is documented in this in-person meeting. So that's why we're doing it. I expect it will take about an hour, and I'm going to propose. So I know that Tim Davis, who's our recreation director, is available on Thursdays and Fridays his early days. So an 8 a.m. meeting will work for his schedule. Most of the time I have not confirmed these dates with him, but that's where I'm going. So I wanted to propose and get your feedback to see if we can move forward. I'm going to do a doodle poll, which allows you to select number of days and put dates in and let people just sign up or tell us when they're available, and wherever we have a critical mass, we'll go with that date. So I'm looking at the 22nd. So this is next week, Wednesday, the 22nd at 9 a.m. This is one date. Thursday, the 23rd at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. 8:30 or 9, I think I'll put.
Thursday, the 23rd, I don't think I can make.
Okay. Are you comfortable and okay if we go ahead and propose that in the interest of time? And we'll obviously fill anybody in who can't be there.
Sure.
Thank you. Friday, the 24th, 8 a.m. Oh yeah, so there can't be anything later than that.
What are the dates? Can you repeat, please?
Yeah, so starting with Wednesday to the 22nd at 9 a.m. Thursday,
9.
the 23rd at 8, 8:30 or 9. Friday.
How long would it be?
It could be a half hour, it could be 45 minutes, it could be an hour.
I could, if it's that early in the morning, I could make it actually.
Okay. Yeah. So Friday, the 24th at 8 a.m. February, the 28th is a Tuesday, and 9 a.m. And then I don't want to do this date, but March 2nd, 8 a.m. or 8:30. I hesitate to do March 2nd because it's so far out. I might I don't know, it's just a couple days outside of the 28th, so I might stop at the 28th, but those are some proposals. Oh, the March, yeah. So anyway, how do you guys, are you good with that? I put that up.
This is not on the critical path for the invitation to bid, is it?
So
okay.
right now we're talking about so just for our time tracking too, this is Mass Trails Grant related project,
Right.
not the bid. So if we're comfortable with those dates, I'll circulate a doodle poll, and you guys are invited to fill out that doodle poll for your availability for the dates and times as well. Okay, so we'll figure. I'd like to get that out tonight to everybody so that we can finalize it in a couple days. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, so then so that's that, and that's really what we need. So we need to know the fence cost before we can sign off on that and get an invoice for the PO. But I think, and then signage. So Will and you and I are going to work on getting in touch with our vendors, reviewing the information you sent for accessible signs, and seeing,
Right.
getting a requote for those, and seeing kind of, we'll talk offline about like how many do we see being that, or if there's no additional cost, if it's just a height thing, maybe they're all accessible, or if there is a huge cost factor, then maybe they're not, and we figure what that looks like, and we'll bring it to the committee next meeting and propose.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll sketch out a timeline of, okay, we get our requotes, we'll kind of decide which vendor we think is the best, and then we'll start on content. With the content, we'll have to involve other parties, including historical and DCR and other groups. So, but I'll talk
Right.
to you offline about that. We'll do it in the next few weeks if you're good with that.
I'm good with that. That's fine.
Great. Awesome. Okay, so that concludes our Mass Trails discussion. Okay. Next is, and if you want to say, how long did we really talk about that? Was that like 30 minutes?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Yeah, let's do 30 minutes for tracking. Thank you. The other thing is, okay, so next let's talk about, there's no update on the DCR MOA trails agreement. I have to refocus and look at what the lawyer last sent us, and I'm going to also reach out to Sudbury Valley trustees, and I think I'm going to ask them if they're comfortable. Well, I'm going to let them know that we're going to move forward as a municipality with the current agreement that we have, and that because we're different entities than a nonprofit, that, you know, if DCR will accept our red lines, then I think we're going to go that route, and they can continue on the route of the volunteer agreement if DCR would allow that, because we want to go ahead and get that agreement.
What's the
That'll-
volunteer agreement?
It was an alternative to using an MOA. So we've
Oh.
used an MOA with DCR in the past for years. And then the nonprofits, the new indemnification clause that was added to the MOAs was problematic for the nonprofits.
Oh, okay.
So their general counsel had recommended this volunteer agreement that DCR Parkside uses for one-day volunteer events. And they thought that they could just modify it slightly to accommodate this type of work. So I think what we talked about is the Trails Committee in the town has worked with DCR with these MOAs since 2002, and we haven't had a problem. So if we can agree to the indemnification and work that out, we should, you know, be able to move forward with it
Okay.
and just close that out, rather than leave this as an open item for 6 to 7 months.
Okay.
So that's what I'm recommending. So I'll come back. I'll reach out. I'll look at what the lawyer redlined, send that to DCR after I talk to SVT, and then we'll go from there. Okay.
Get one question.
Yes.
So what we had discussion with Will on the SPAC meeting, that goes under the head. What head? I mean, what's the agenda item?
Yes, that goes under number 7, Mass Trails Grant, because it's related to the accessibility piece and
Okay,
the
okay,
signage and such. That's going to be the Mass Trails discussion.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. Okay, bouncing around. All right, let's talk about so we don't have the EDC representative hasn't, we don't have him here tonight, so we're not going to talk about number 5, no updates. We can quickly talk about the master plan implementation status report. So basically, we need to, as a committee, which we'll do next meeting or so, Will and I serve on the master plan implementation committee. I serve as the representative for trails, open space, and I forget who else is on that, stewardship, conservation, I forget, there's a few of them.
Right.
And our role is as these liaisons, and Will, you're a liaison to, what is your, do you remember?
I'm a liaison to to the technology folks and a couple other, like a finance committee or whatever, but the technology folks are the main lift there.
Yeah, so what we need to do as liaisons is meet with our committees, and this will be including trails. Look at the what our goals and objectives are from the master plan, and provide a progress report update to the master plan implementation committee. So basically, it's going to be a little form that we fill out, and we'll talk about as a committee, you know, are you clear on what your objectives are? You know, how are things going meeting those objectives? Have you,
Right.
have you, experienced any issues, or, do you need to change any of your objectives? That type of stuff. So we as a committee, and I think those are due in March. Is it the end of March, Will?
I believe it is, yeah, but I'd have to go back
Or do
and
we
check.
need to report at the beginning of the March? I forget.
Well, we need to do our conflict of interest by the beginning of March.
Oh, yes. So everybody do your conflict of interest, because bad things will happen if you don't do it.
Right.
Not quite sure if we get kicked off the committee or not. But so yeah, so that's coming up. So that will be one of our next discussions, is doing a quick update, and it will be actually fun to see, because I haven't done that in a while. Looked at the objectives that are set out for Trails Committee and see how they align with the work that we're doing now, because I'm pretty sure some of those objectives are being ticked off as we're getting through the project that we're working on now.
Right.
So that's good.
Do we, as a committee, do we have any type of reporting for the town meeting, the annual town meeting?
Yes, we submitted an update for that, a one pager. I'll circulate it.
I submitted an update for the SPAC.
Yeah.
But no, what I mean is there's nothing that we have to do at the meeting itself.
No, not at town meeting, but we will have a page in the annual report that represents what we did in 2023, which was similar to it was like an expansion of what we submitted to the select board in December.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So I should circulate that to the committee. Call the annual update. Okay, so that's the master plan piece, and Tom is still not here, but he is coming, I'm sure. Let me just text him and double check. Okay, so next on the topic is the draft bid. So last week, the bid has gone through legal counsel review. And he's updated some things, and it's the most recent one is on the SharePoint for everybody. And I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to just quickly step through, or not quickly, but we're just going to step through the comments. So let me share my screen. Okay. Let me know when you can see the cover page here.
Yep.
Okay.
I can see it. Yep.
Okay. Good. Okay, great. So again, all of these dates will have to change based on where we are today, but we'll talk about that last. So Ben Taylor was the name of the attorney. He added some information about OSHA certification. He said it's okay that we remove the fax because no one uses fax anymore. I think this is for requests for invitation to bid. Let's see, he cleaned up some stuff in here. So that's not much going on up there. Okay. Again, he just cleaned up our coordinates. Didn't have much to say about the scope itself, which is good. He was just focused on, so here, the prevailing wage. So we wrote the use of volunteers is accepted so long as all liability is covered under the project manager's insurance policy. And then he included, and if prevailing wage is not to be paid by the contractor to the volunteers, the contractor receives certification from the appropriate state agencies that prevailing wage shall not apply to the volunteers. By submitting a bid, the contractor hereby agrees, indemnify, and hold the town harmless from any applicable prevailing wage requirements. Hereby agrees to indemnify. I think there's a TO missing. To indemnify and hold the town harmless from any applicable wage. Okay, so lots to do. He just fixed that up. He said, keep in mind that the state usually requires prevailing wage applying to situations where a company offers to donate work but has its employees work on the project. They would not charge the town anything, but would still need to pay their own employees prevailing wage. Also, if an individual or principal of a company was to perform the work themselves without using any employees, prevailing wage would not need to apply. So that first little paragraph is confusing. I don't exactly know if we get questions on that. I don't know exactly how we'll answer them, but trust that Ben knows what he's doing, so that's good. This last paragraph is interesting because our sign installer, for example, if he were to, he's a sole proprietor, if he were to install the signs himself, then he wouldn't have to pay himself prevailing wages. But if he has employees, he would have to pay them prevailing wage. That was just a little info that came up. So he changed, again, prevailing wage here. And so it says prevailing wage shall apply to the project and the selected contractor shall pay the rates on the prevailing wage sheets attached to this IFB unless the selected bidder demonstrates the satisfaction of the town that they are an entity which prevailing wages is not applicable. I don't understand what an entity would be other than a sole proprietor. So he just notes in the comments that if we're not, we have to be really careful about this prevailing wage, or we could inquire, we could be subject to fees if we don't do things correctly. So, yeah. So Melanie has applied for the rate sheets, the prevailing wage sheets. She did that today. So we're waiting for them to get back to us. Those have to be attached to Appendix A down below. Okay, so then that was it. So he added here just the bid form attached to this IFB must be included, and the 5% bid deposit and certifications of non-collusion, OSHA, and tax certification must be attached. Also, no changes to the compliance section. And this is Appendix A. He said this is where we need to include the prevailing wage sheet. So we'll put it down below after all the images. He added this, which is great. And then this is the certification of non-collusion. And this is the tax compliance thing. Oh, so that they're in good standing. I see. Okay, that's fair. And then that's the only changes. So we're in good shape with the bid. We just have to, we're waiting on the prevailing wage pages, and then we're good to go. I have a proposal. Let me see if I can, if Can you guys see what's this Excel that I just switched to, or are you still seeing the?
Yeah, no, we can see. I can see it.
Okay, okay. So what I tried to do here was propose dates based on the first set of timelines, right? So Tim said we would submit to, oh, and we also have to submit not just to central registrar, but to also to Combis, which is another state agency database that contractors use to look for proposals. So, and so anyway, so he initially said Feb 6. So we're gonna now do Feb 20. That will be our start date. The community advocate, he had initially said Friday 2/10, and it posts on the following Friday. So that means if we post this, if we submit it this Friday, it'll post on the 24th of February. Then it requires mandatory notice, 2 weeks public notice. So that would be the week of the, so if it posts on the 24th, it'd be the week of the 27th and the week of the 6th. And then we would have a mandatory site visit the week of March 13th. Right. And so we're just backing everything up a week or two. And then questions would be due by the 16th. That's 48 hours after the site visit, wherever we have that site visit. If it is on the, we'll probably have it like something on the 14th. And then do 48 hours from that. And then the addendum next week, which would be the week, this would be 3/20. Yep, so like Monday 3/20, the addendum for questions and answers would be submitted or provided back to the bidders. And then the bid opening date would be the week of March 27th. So I will confirm these dates with Tim, but I think that's what it will generally look like if we can get everything in order and to the community advocates starting on the 17th. Unless we have to post to registrar first, but he has that they did that on the 6th and then community advocate on the 10th. So we would post, so that might be a problem. Right? If he said, oh, but no, it's probably not a problem because we'll put it in Combis. It's not actually going to get posted in the paper until the 24th anyway. So it's probably okay that we submit it to the community. And that might be a problem. I'm not sure. We'll ask. Okay. All right, any questions?
So these are just proposed dates right now, nothing is.
Yeah, it's a revised set of dates based on our new timeline, based on where we are today.
They look fine.
Yeah, okay. Great. All right, I'm going to stop sharing now. All right. Okay, so we're good there. I think we already voted to approve the bid with the changes from the even with some amendments from the attorney. So I don't think we need to revote. Does anyone feel differently?
No, I don't think you need to.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Okay, so we're comfortable with that. And yeah, yeah, so I think this will be interesting to see what we get. Because the other thing is if we don't get bids, then we have to go to plan B. Not sure what plan B is. What did the senior center, was it the senior center that got bids, or they didn't like the bids, or the bids came in were too expensive? Will, are you familiar with that process?
Yes, the bids came in and they were very expensive because they included the labor. And so what they did is that they went back and they're going to get a bid, or have gotten a bid from Assabet Valley, and the student labor is free basically. because the students are learning. And so they're going to go with that. So that lowered the price quite a bit. But, you know, that's a
I wonder how,
completely
because that would
different
be
ballpark.
subject to prevailing wage too.
Well, these are students who are doing it sort of part of a student project. So I'm not sure that the prevailing wage would apply to them. Obviously, I mean, from what I could tell, no, it doesn't. They're not going to be paid. This is kind of co-op work for them where they're gaining experience.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, I don't know what we'll do if we have to rebid. Let's
Well, why
concentrate.
would you think we wouldn't end up getting bids, or you think they may be too high, or what?
Hmm.
Well, if they're too high, I think the only culprit would really be labor, right?
Well, that's what I'm concerned about. The culprit would be labor, because when we budgeted this, our labor was the Student Conservation Association. And
So,
no one, if it won't come in at the right number if they don't use creative laborers. If they have to pay prevailing wage for labor, I mean, I don't know.
well, but you know, I guess the other
I
issue,
guess we would only be able to do one part of the project or something.
I mean, this is not that large of amount of labor, is it?
It shouldn't be with the kits, right? We're not, yeah.
Well, not just the kit, but I'm talking about the boardwalk. I'm talking about, you know, the making of the trail. I don't anticipate this being a huge amount of labor.
Yeah, but I think what I'm referring to is our labor costs were already very inexpensive for the budgeting process because of the Student Conservation Corps. And if we take that Student Conservation Corps out of the equation and put real laborers in there, it's gonna.
Well,
yeah.
When we were doing that section of the trail with the Boy Scouts, I mean,
Yeah.
how we built a trail, but
Yeah.
it didn't go out to bid or anything.
No.
I guess, you know, here we're essentially asking for a bid for a turnkey trail, right?
Uh-huh.
So that's not necessarily what we need. We need a boardwalk built. We need a bridge put in.
We
But
could do the trail itself.
we could do the
We could
trail.
take the natural surface off if we had to, but that's gonna probably be the least expensive piece and not save us a ton of money. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But yeah, we could do things like that.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if the culprit's going to be labor,
Yeah.
then we could get the culprit out of the room there.
Yeah.
And
the other thing is we could look at alternatives. Like we went with fiberglass because we understood, you know, the long lasting and the low maintenance of that type of thing. If we have to go with something that's gonna, you know, be less expensive but require more maintenance, we may be able to change.
Yeah, but do you really think I mean, you budgeted or you got estimates on the price of the bridge and the boardwalk. Do you really think the prices of that is going to go up that much?
Not necessarily, no.
Even though they can no longer be shipped by Chinese surveillance balloon?
Careful. Public forum being recorded. No. Okay. So I think any other questions or whatnot on the bid? Thank you for all of your support and help. And we've met 6 times in 2023. This is the 6th time.
No, this is good. This is good.
It is good. We got it done. It was good working sessions. The question becomes, what's our next meeting? So I do think we need to meet again in March, because we have to talk signage and but I need to have a sense of when SPAC, because I'd like to meet our group after we meet with SPAC. So
I've already sent an email to Bill asking him what the date is for the next meeting. So I'll get back to you as soon as I get a message from him.
Okay,
He's at
great.
the Parks Working Group meeting, or the St. Mark's
Oh,
Street
yeah.
Park Working Group meeting right now.
Right, and there's no chance that's already been scheduled, right?
No, actually, that was one thing that we did not suggest at the end of the last meeting and last week, which was kind of an oversight. So I imagine, we'll get a date on that shortly. When would you like it to be? Would be maybe
Not
better
on a
question.
Wednesday, because I have
No,
Wednesday.
no. How many weeks from now? Because it conceivably could be like the first or second week in March. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine with me.
How does a Tuesday at 9 a.m. sound one of those weeks?
Yes, usually pretty good. I have
Okay.
a standing meeting on Wednesdays. It's not about me, but I do want to be there.
Okay, but
Wednesdays usually I work in Framingham, but if I had to like work early at 7 or 8 and come in late, I can do that.
okay. This would be like, I mean, we've moved from Mondays to Tuesdays to
Okay.
accommodate Mark Purple. So it would probably be a Tuesday at 9 a.m. one of those days. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I'll do my best to get there.
okay. I mean, I just want our meeting to be early enough for you, or not early in the day, but early enough in time. If
Can
you
we
could,
go first?
pardon?
Can I go first?
Oh, yes, you can go
Just keep in
first.
mind. Yeah, just because I have to get
As
mine.
long as you wear your traditional Icelandic headgear there.
I'm going to wear sparkly colors.
Yes, okay.
So, and I'm going to bring rays of sunshine in that room.
And also bring some of that fresh lava, okay?
Okay.
And dip your thermos down in there and get some fresh lava for us.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so
okay, that sounds good.
So then, what date is it now? It's the 13th. So we might need to meet before SPAC then,
Okay.
because unless SPAC meets like on the 7th of March or the 14th, it's too far out there for us to, because we're gonna have, I don't know when our next meeting should be. Let's put it
Okay.
that way.
All right.
Because we have 2 members that aren't here that can't chime in on when they're available. And I'll focus on tonight getting our kickoff meeting set. So we'll have, because we've got now 3 things. We got SPAC meeting, we'll get the kickoff meeting, and then we're gonna have a site visit for the bid. So we're gonna have lots of little meetings coming up. So let's hold off on our Trails Committee meeting until we have some of these other meetings settled.
Okay.
So I am off on from 2nd March to 7th.
Oh, are you going anywhere fun? Anywhere fun?
Yeah, I'm going to Berlin.
Germany?
Yeah,
From March 2nd to when?
March 7th.
You're
That's
not
a
going to
short trip.
Berlin, Massachusetts? Wow.
No,
Is this a vacation visit?
kind of. My niece is coming. She'll be studying there, so
Okay.
we are just going there to settle her. I know Berlin, so that's.
Oh, awesome. Well, that would be great.
Cool.
3/2 through 3/7. Okay, we will skip those dates.
You might want to check with Vladimir Putin, make sure that nothing's going to be happening those days.
Oh, that means the Thursday, the March 2nd, might be, so that's another reason to not include that, because you won't be here. Okay. For the kickoff call. All right, so thank you very much. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Great.
I second it.
8:44. So roll call would be Satyendra Sharma,
Yes.
Kat McKee, yes, Will Warren.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. Appreciate your feedback.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Talk soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Night, night.